The Walking Dead is one of the most popular TV show series of all time, and the original game is probably the easiest platinum trophy ever if we're being honest. Which is why I wanted to make this video, because I thought that could be a cool, quick thing to do. However, I was greatly shocked when I purchased the definitive edition of the game, and it had every single DLC and season included, meaning this version of The Walking Dead is much longer. So the trophy list is divided solely into finishing every single episode of the game series from seasons 1 through 4, and also the Michonne DLC after. There is only 24 trophies in the game, and this is going to be a long day. I should also mention every single season besides season 4 has 5 episodes in it. So season 1 episode 1 first kicks off with Lee, who is the main character you play as this season, and then a cop who has him under arrest for alleged murder. However, I don't think this cop will make it to the trial because he drove right into a walker who was just chilling in the middle of the road. Not gonna lie, you could see that for ages. There's literally nobody else here. Purely a skill issue. You then awake and somehow Lee isn't totally dead and hasn't really suffered too many drastic injuries, with even enough life left that he just kicked out this window right here to escape. Oh, and actually he did hurt his poor leg, which makes all of these picking up animations agonizingly slow and annoying. We then got the handcuff key from the dead cop, but sadly at the last second he came back to life in the form of the dead and started to attack us. Thankfully we had a shotgun sitting right next to us. Take that, Second Amendment haters. Anyway, since we just shot a gun in the middle of a zombie apocalypse, Lee now has to run away from every single one in the surrounding 10 miles. And we end up running into this house nearby, which is also home to this little girl in a treehouse named Clementine. However, she forgot to tell us about the dead person that was just standing behind us, and I nearly pissed myself. Lee, however, tripped over air and somehow didn't break his neck right here. We then, of course, took out the zombussy with the help of poor Clementine. This is also the beginning of her PTSD that she will have for the rest of her life. I hate broken homes. We then chatted with Clementine for a little bit, and we apparently seemed trustworthy enough that she just decided to come with us. So now Lee is taking care of Clementine for the rest of this game. I love Babysitting Simulator. Oh yeah, we also ran into these two dudes in the street and helped them get their truck going so we could all not die. These same dudes also lived at a farm nearby, which is the best place by far to be at in an apocalypse. Sadly, the farm owner was very sus of me since I had a vulnerable little girl with me, and he was implying some Chris Hansen things.
Honey, do you know this man?
Yes.
But I tried my best to reassure him that I wasn't EDP 445. Anyways, the next day is here and all the homies are hard at work trying to reinforce the farm's fence because, well, zombies are everywhere. And yes, I am gonna call them zombies and not walkers. I've just always thought that walkers were a horrible name. Anyways, I became a carpenter for my new work trade in the postmodern era. Sadly though, after I walked away, this dumb kid drove over this dude's leg and trapped him with the tractor while a ton of zombies showed up. And since children always make the apocalypse 10 times harder, I made the choice to go save the dude instead. Yeah, that didn't work. And now I have a bad conscience. Son of a bitch. Oh, and that farm guy kicked us all out because of what just happened. It's understandable, I'm not gonna lie. So we are now riding around with Kenny and his family in their car until coming across the drugstore that Lee's parents owned before everything went to hell. And inside was a lot of not so friendly people, especially this old guy who I resent with everything and want to die already. We then argued with them for a while because Kenny's kid was injured and they thought he got bit, which he didn't. This did lead to the old dude's heart literally breaking, and no, it wasn't from Megan Fox not DMing him back on Instagram. That was actually just me. Oh my god! Anyways, a little later in the mission, there was some lady who was screaming for help because a bunch of zombies were outside of her apartment, and we managed to get to her after a very annoying section of enemies. But once there, she said that she'd also been bit. This was all for nothing. And then yeah, well, you know, at least she's taken care of. Back at the drugstore now, we still need to get the keys to the medicine room to grab some heart meds for that old dude. And you get it from killing Lee's poor brother who has them. But I gotta say, this man Loki didn't want to die, even though he already is. Bro got that dog in him even in death. And we got the keys eventually, of course. Sadly, when we opened the door, the alarm rang and alerted every zombie in the area, which is why we had to rush out, and this old dude really hates me because he just dropped my ass like Captain Price again. But thankfully, Kenny was there to save me. And I heard if you drop a like and subscribe right now, you can also get a saving grace from yours truly, Its Ilusion. Right before the ending of this first episode, we also just conversed with everyone left in the group for a while, and set up home base at this motel where that one girl, was. And that was the end of episode 1. Oh man, it's gonna be a long day. Also, I played this game for 14 hours in one day, which is insane. Episode 2 of season 1 had a lot of talking and crap between everyone in the beginning because pretty much everyone in the group either hates each other or doesn't trust each other, which is why when these two dudes out of nowhere showed up, it was very sus. However, they told us about this farm that they have and said we could do a deal of gas for food. Now, since everyone is already starving, we decided to hell with it. Let's just go to their farm because that's a great idea, right? Yeah, it wasn't. It most definitely wasn't. While here, we got ambushed by a raider group who has beef with the farmers. And then a little later, Lee ended up finding this torture chamber slash dissection room that was extremely suspicious. And then we had to have dinner with them because everyone was starving and this was the plan from the beginning. Just to have a nice home-cooked meal for once. But obviously something isn't right here, and we ended up finding this entire hitaway room with one of our homies in it who got his legs chopped off, and that is what dinner was. I'm not gonna lie, I called cannibals from the start, but the farmers really didn't appreciate me calling them out, and we then got knocked out, waking up in another prison. Anyways, while in this new prison cell fearing for our lives in terms of being eaten, you know, that's a new one, the old dude ended up having another heart attack. L genetics. This time though, he didn't come back. He actually died. And Kenny ended up performing a Call of Duty finishing move on him, so he, you know, won't become a zombie. His daughter Lily did not like that. It's not one bit. So anyways, after we ended up just throwing Clementine into this air vent, and she found the way to the doors locked, and we were free to escape our prison. So the objective now for the boys is to simply get back to Kenny's family, but also take out these farmers because they are some messed up people. And we ended up getting jump scared by one of them in the barn.
Come over here and kiss me on my hot mouth.
Thankfully, the idiot fell back into a bear trap. Someone obviously doesn't have enough chromosomes. We were then faced with a choice to kill him or spare him, and I'm not gonna lie, I was on a warpath playing this game, so I chose to execute the guy. But Clementine saw it, so I guess she can't see anything worse now, right? Yeah, I'm not a good role model. But if you thought that was bad, this was way worse. I just beat the balls off the other farmer dude because he was the really bad one, and I thought leaving him would be too nice. Granted, I probably didn't have to keep hitting the guy, but what's done is done. And we also walked back to him since he trash talked me and pushed him into the electric fence like a cow. At the very end of this episode, a few minutes later, the group walks up on an abandoned car full of supplies, and the game was really trying to say not to take it, but I just had to, so we did. Then the trophy for episode 2 popped right after. Episode 3 then has us back at the motel base, just talking and ruining relationships, just like in real life. But this self-sabotage stops when a bunch of the raiders from last episode show up again because they want stuff. And as you could guess, we then get an epic battle with them in the motel. I hate to say it, but this might be the least action to happen at the average motel, to be honest. Once most of the raiders were taken care of, the whole gang also just piled into Kenny's RV, and we then drove out of this godforsaken area finally. Kenny did also manage to hit another zombie in the road though, and I swear it can't be that hard to see them coming. They barely move. It's not like it just ran out in front. But that's why we had to stop here for a second to pull it off of the car. And while stopped, Lily went full-on interrogation mode on Ben and Carly. This is because one of them made a deal with the raiders and was stealing supplies from the group earlier. All in all, neither of them would say who did it, and honestly I thought it was Carly, which is why when Lily just straight up popped her, I didn't even feel bad. I was just shocked. There is nothing behind those eyes. Anyways, back in the road, Kenny's wife tells us their son Duck had been bit during the raid, as if this day couldn't get any better. Wait, it actually did. We found a train that still works at this roadblock. And the end of this episode had us trying to figure out how to get it working again, but we managed to, shockingly. I should also mention, Lily did steal the RV and drove away, but she was like a crazy bitch, so it's fine. Speaking of crazy bitches, we ended up stopping the train since Duck literally was about to turn into a zombie. So we let Kenny's wife take him into the woods to say goodbyes. And she decided to go with him on the journey to the afterlife. Typical woman moment, just leaving Kenny hanging dry. But hey, we got a trophy. This next episode then has the gang joined by a homeless guy from the train and 2 other people we picked up on the way. And it basically just consisted of us desperately trying not to get eaten alive by zombies for once. And also trying to find a boat to sail away from our problems. And that seemed impossible when we went to the marina and found absolutely nothing besides this wrecked one. There was then a ton of zombies that showed up and we tried to escape by going up, but there was nowhere left for Lee to go, so we had to split up and go into the sewers. Down in the sewers, we then had to do some sneaky things to get past the zombies that are everywhere down here. And once we did, we also stumbled into some groups just living down here. Low-key weird. The last Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle movies flopped, but okay. We did end up taking the old dude back with us though because he was a doctor, I think. Honestly, I can't be totally sure of it. It kind of all blends together. But we found a boat in the backyard of the house we'd been hiding in, which is crazy luck. There was also a trip we took into the so-called Golden City nearby, but it was actually just full of zombies and it was a horrible experience. We did find the supplies we were after, however, and now that I'm thinking about it, this place was a lot like Detroit, I gotta say. So we then were all set to take the boat and get off this blasted rock of land to safety in the sea. But when Lee awoke the next morning, Clementine was gone, and we now have to find her. And yeah, trophy pops since that was the conclusion of the episode. So it's now episode 5 of season 1, and this is the finale for the first season, of course. It kicks off with some action just chopping off Lee's arm because he had been bit, but as we will see later, it was sadly too late. Anyways, this episode contained a lot of death, and I mean a lot. The first death was of our hopes and dreams because some son of a bitch stole the only boat left in the world. Yeah, that sucks. zombies. But we are still after Clementine, so that's some sort of motive to live, I guess. And the next death was with Kenny because this dumb girl fell down into the floor of some building and couldn't jump out. So Kenny went down there to lift her up and then was swarmed with zombies. We then made it to where Clementine was allegedly and found her kidnapper was just some creepy old guy that likes kids. This is also the same guy who had that car abandoned in the woods a while back that we stole from. I sort of get it now, I won't lie. But he ended up being the next death once me and Clementine ganged up on him and did some crazy tag team kill. It was then the end of the road for poor old Lee, and he was about to turn, so we locked him to this pipe. Clementine also had to take out this zombie to get on with her journey, so he basically just taught her some last few life lessons and are posed with the option to kill Lee or leave him to turn. And I actually left the guy since I thought that was the good thing to do in order to not really mess up Clementine's mind. However, I would find out that only 5% of players actually did that. I guess I'm just unique. And we got the final trophy for season 1. Good God. There was then this weird DLC that has you play a quick preview for a bunch of characters that are in season 2 of the game. However, it was kind of dumb because you rarely see half of them in the second season, so I don't get why they did that, but once you finish it, you get a trophy. Season 2 then kicks off and it has Clementine essentially just wandering through the forest hopelessly until finding a dog, and also some canned food a bit later. The dog, however, went crazy on us and bit poor Clementine. We don't talk about what happened to the dog. Yeah. Also, this group of people found us and were convinced that Clementine had been infected by a zombie bite, when it was actually a dog, as we all know. However, they ended up throwing us into a locked shed, which is just great, and we then had to escape and scavenge around their house for medical supplies so poor Clementine wouldn't die of infection by morning. And while in the shed again, a frickin' zombie
Can you not swear?
just showed up and had a full-on brawl with the poor girl, which thankfully catch enough attention from the group to realize how dumb they are, and we are no longer being put in the shed by them. The next day then had us do some hunting with the old dude of the group and his dumb kid. Sadly, while hunting, a horde of zombies showed up and they bit the poor old guy. And yeah, that was it for episode 1. Episode 2 starts with us and the old dude hiding in a van because zombies are everywhere, of course, but after quite a while they left, and it was relatively safe for Clementine to run away. When she made it back to the house, we then told everyone what happened and they all just straight up left. A few seconds later, the super scary guy ended up just walking on into the home, searching for them all. And I'm not gonna lie, I was lying to his face about everything. Eventually he did leave though, and then the whole group had to, of course, also leave so he wouldn't find us in the future, which is what led us to this super cool cabin with a bunch of wind turbines near it, and also another group of people. Now at first it was all violence, but then their leader was actually Kenny, the same guy who died in the first season. I'm sensing plot armor, not gonna lie, but that's okay. We then decorated a Christmas tree as if the world isn't ending and had a nice meal with everyone. But it was good to enjoy this time together because all those evil people showed up with the scary guy from earlier and began to execute everyone. Low-key, that's crazy, but what's even more crazy is Kenny's aim. The guy can't hit shots to save lives, literally. He did stop shooting though when the scary guy brought his love to the chopping block. What a simp. We ended up getting captured, of course, but the real crime was having to listen to this damn monologue before the trophy popped. Episode 3 then takes place back at the scary dude's base, a glorified Walmart. This one didn't really have much happen until the end, which had us turn on the speaker system and alert a giant horde of zombies nearby. Kenny also got his revenge on the scary guy, and his face is no longer suitable for YouTube.com. The next objective is to get away from the horde of zombies, which is done by smothering ourselves in zombie guts. However, some people just didn't make it, and I made the executive decision to chop off Kenny's love's hand before she got infected, and then the trophy for that episode popped. Okay, so episode 4 begins now, and it picks up right where we just left off with the chopping of Kenny's love's hand. Long story short, she bled out. So I take blame for that one. And the rest of this episode then had Kenny all depressed, while we tried to find shelter and supplies so this black lady with us could give birth to her damn baby. So the lady ended up having the kid, and low-key, I don't think anyone thought that thing was gonna make it. Like, it literally came out looking like a frozen popsicle. But I guess it's fine. Anyways, we were then on a hike to some safe place in the middle of winter, which is a horrible idea. And the poor lady who had the baby was really struggling and couldn't move on, which would end up not being a bad thing because we got jumped by a bunch of Russians anyway, who were not very nice. And all the adults then had some arguing for quite a while. But while that was happening, the baby lady straight up died and came back as a zombie just holding her first meal. So I did the only sensible thing and shot her dead straight away. Yeah, that might have triggered a war, but hey, a trophy. Episode 5 then picks up with the fighting all going on, that's cool. What's even cooler is when Luke fell through the ice and drowned though. Now that's cool. Yeah, cold, that's not good. Oh my god! Anyways, this episode was super boring and it ends with Kenny, Clementine, and this girl. But she ended up being a psycho bitch and lost the baby we just slaved to keep alive. So Kenny did the only reasonable thing and I didn't stop him. Also, I'm starting to realize that all girls are just bitches. Like, seriously, what is going on? And that baby was completely fine, by the way, so the girl was literally just looking to make a fight. Reminds me of my ex-girlfriend. At the end of the episode, you finally make it to the quote-unquote safe place that we were after. Sadly, they wouldn't take anyone else in, but Kenny struck a deal to take Clementine and the baby only. So that's what they did, and then we got a trophy. Season 3 then begins, and it follows a different group of people this time because Clementine is off somewhere on her own. This new group consists of Hobby, Kate, who is the last baddie on Earth, and then these 2 kids. Sadly, you are immediately captured by some bad people, which is the most normal thing to happen in this game. However, a tree ends up falling down in front of the prison transport truck, and we crashed, allowing me to find a gun and put down the bad man. We then see Clementine actually, and find out she orchestrated that whole crash, which is pretty neat. We then decided to go with her wherever she wanted to because Clementine has that main character energy. Sadly, she got a little too trigger happy and shot this one guy in cold blood right in front of a bunch of people. That's never a great idea, come on. We then got thrown into another prison, but the doctor lady there had like a crush on us or something. So she helped us get out, and then we rode some horses Red Dead style all the way back to the junkyard we got jumped in. This is because that baddie Kate and the kids are still here, which we did end up finding pretty quickly actually. Sadly, the girl got domed in the head out of nowhere, and that honestly might be one of the most shocking deaths I've ever seen in a video game. So of course, we then had to do some fighting to avenge her death, and a grenade got thrown in, which I grabbed since I'm such a war hero. We don't know what happened, but a trophy did pop because that was the end of the episode. Next episode picked up right in the fight. Well, actually after the fight, since your boy passed out at the worst time possible. But they basically just ran away. Until they came back to the camp Clementine took us to in order to literally just break in and cause actual war crimes to happen. What a start once more. This next episode then literally just consisted of us trying to get to Richmond, which is a big city that has doctors to help save Kate since she got shot and is sort of dying. Sadly, we found out that Richmond had actually been taken over by the same bad guys we have been fighting, so we argued with him for a while and tried to convince him to help us. Although that is a horrible argument, we have literally been killing each other the whole time. But this all caused the boss to come out and sort the ordeal, who as a matter of fact ended up being Javi's brother. What a coincidence. We got another trophy. So the next episode has Javi's brother David show us around the town. Actually, just kidding, he took his old wife in to get treated for her wounds, and the rest of us got thrown into another prison. After a while though, we did get shown around, and it's great, and don't get me wrong, but it reminds me a lot of the farm from season 1. Something just doesn't sit right, but it's okay because we got kicked out anyways. So the objective for this episode is to now meet back with David and find a way to sneak back in because we have to get Kate out still. We end up going to the meeting spot and find out there is crates upon crates of supplies from neighboring settlements, which means these people really are the bad guys, and David claims to not be in on it. So we then just go around executing the bad guys there. Casual Katie boost, gotta love it. Anyways, we then made it back to Kate, and she agreed with us, saying the place may look nice, but feels like something bad is going on behind the scenes. But we got a trophy, so it's okay. Next episode has me and Kate on the run, which is awesome. She's so bad, bro. What the fuck? Anyways, this episode is centered around trying to find a vehicle to escape with, which we did in this place where they store their vehicles. Seems smart. So we stole it because we were supposed to and managed to get out without being caught. Oh, and we also confessed our love to Kate, who is our brother's wife, by the way. But having that out there now, the plan we had sort of, well, went to hell since David was about to be executed by this evil lady named Joan. So we had to go crash that party, and a lot of fighting ended up happening. But it ended with Kate driving in to save the day. Is that a Molotov? Oh my god! We lost a good hoe today, boys. Trophy pop. Oh wait, she actually isn't dead. Let's go! So yeah, Kate survived, and now we just tried to escape the city, which we sort of did through various parkour skills. But we ended up at a crossroads, and David was trying to order us all to do things that we didn't want to do. I guess the military PTSD is still there. And Kate just straight up kissed me right in front of him, saying we are in love, which, you know, might not have been the best idea ever. And I then got beat up. But once David picked up a weapon, I said, that's it, and I fought back. It ended, however, with David taking his son Gabe with him in a car to escape, leaving us. Kate was fine with this, however, because she wanted to go back to the city and save them from the horde of zombies. So now we have to go save everyone. Thankfully, we had this big construction vehicle though, so it made it pretty easy to actually save everybody. And we also found out that sadly, Gabe and David both died. Karma's a bitch, I guess, and that was basically it for season 3. Now that was by far my favorite season out of these games. However, a lot of people say season 4 is the best, but personally, I didn't care too much for it. Mostly because it was just full of children, and I don't really like kids, especially with the dumb humor the devs always give them. It just comes off as super forced. So I'm just gonna skip to the last 2 episodes of season 4 since the first 2 episodes are pretty similar and dumb. Anyways, episode 3 has you and AJ, who is that baby from season 2, all sort of, you know, grown up now. You basically have to infiltrate this ship that has all the kids captured on it, and the bad people on the ship also want to capture / kill us in general. So we get on there, and that's cool. We also plant a bomb in the boiler, which is smart. However, we also got caught, but we managed to escape pretty easily. Also, this dude accidentally got his KD up, which was funny. We then stuck around for a hot minute until finding the boss lady at the top deck about to kill some of our friends. guns. Thankfully, all hell breaks loose and AJ gets his hand on a gun. You probably don't know this, but the kid is sort of deranged. I mean, he was raised in an apocalypse, so that's to be expected, I won't lie. But yeah, he killed the lady as you saw, and then episode 4 just has us run away through some caves to safety basically. You then watch some cutscenes showing everyone living their best lives a few minutes later and get the trophy pop. So the last 3 trophies for this game are all gone in the Michonne DLC pack. This is just a little extra story that was sort of pointless to be honest. Like, it's kind of dumb, but has more game length than Modern Warfare 3 still, so it's okay. And I'm just gonna sum it up real fast. You play as a machete-wielding mother who lost both of her daughters at the start of the zombie crap. She also has a lot of mental health issues like most of us, and this makes her see them everywhere. You end up getting captured by some bad guys, killing the bad guys, and also losing some good friends on the way. But in the end, the main character plot armor stays strong and you live to see another day. So there's the platinum for that. And Lord have mercy, I've never spent so long on a story game in my life. Like honestly, that was 40 hours straight of just story. Which when you compare it to other platinum trophies, that's not horrible, but most single player platinums have like 20-hour stories at max. And then it's just a lot of cleanup. So overall, that was actually quite a challenge just because it gets boring when you play Telltale games for 14 hours in one day. Very boring.